In my case, everybody needs a leg up. I've got John Street, and he's given me a go, and we've been a good team.
Sir Lincoln to find them, and look at Pembroke Benny right down the outside. Sir Lincoln in front. Sir Lincoln, what a drive, Morris McKendry. Badlands Butte and Huey Duncan, they're coming, but it's Bailey's Dream. Badlands Butte's a big threat down in the inner, too good. Badlands Butte got the derby. Just the Tigers 3 lengths clear, Molossi and Mark's Tenor, but Just the Tigers too strong. U-Rock yet to be fully called upon. He slipped him a bit of rain now, did Maury Macken. Away goes U-Rock. That's U-Rock for the 3-year-old championship. He won it.
You still got to be, top of the line trainer to get those horses from the south, to pick them out from day dot, get them to where they are, and win big races. And Ray's proven that over the last 15 years,
It's a racing career that started with Cardigan Bay, then detoured to the States, England and Italy, before returning to the green grass of home. Ray Green tells his story on Off the Track.
How many are you working? What's your normal number?
We sort of between 25 and 35 in work.
Yep.
Usually it fluctuates, and altogether we've got about 45 horses probably.
Yep.
Probably there's 20 of them are yearlings.
Yep.
Lincoln Farms has only got 2-year-olds, are the oldest ones.
Yep.
We've either sold or sent the 3-year-olds off to Australia. And the only older horses we've got are Mervs really, and
Yep.
we've got some for Emilio Rosati. Yeah, we've got a good bunch of horses. Lincoln Farms spent about 800 grand this year on yearlings. So
what have they broken in like?
all
at
of them
this
have
stage?
good. Yeah. No, they've all broken beautifully. Obviously, some will come early and some will arrive later.
Yep.
We've got probably half a dozen there that we'll sort of target the young guns
Yep.
with, and see. We'll just press on with them and see where they take us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a busy place. Robert Dunn, he's got his
Robert's
northern base here.
Yeah, Robert's here. He's numbers fluctuate here and there, but we work good together. Robert's good to work with. He minds his own business down this end, and
Yep.
I do the other. And if we need a hand, help each other, we do. It works out good.
How would you describe Ray as a horseman, Ray Green? Because he's been in the game for a long time, been through many eras of good horses.
Yeah.
How would you describe him as a trainer?
He's probably the most laid-back trainer I've come across. He's everything he just takes into stride. He never worries if things are going wrong. He just, we'll be all right. We'll get through it. And yeah, that's one thing I've taken off him, I guess, in a sense, and to my own training is just, let things happen. No point in rushing or trying to make something work that isn't going to work. And I've sort of noticed that with Ray. He just, even around the horses, he's so calm, and he never really gets them upset. I'll come in and have a late night one night or whatnot, and you find yourself getting angry and frustrated with them, where Ray, he just always seems to be cool, calm and collected.
I just run into that Zachary Butcher. He's
Yeah,
taking
well,
a leaf
Zach's a
out of
bit
your...
different.
He said he's trying to take a leaf out of your book, that just the laid-back way is the way to go.
Yeah, well, I tell all these boys, if you're any good, you don't need to be blowing your own trumpet.
Other people will
plenty
do it.
of people doing it for you. So, you don't need to be heard before you're seen, sort of thing. And but anyway, they're all good boys. They do well.
Wise words from a country boy at heart, born somewhere in the 40s in Ofanga, a small settlement between Taumaranui and National Park.
My father was working in the sawmill at the time, and
Only child?
only child. Yeah.
But you did have a brother,
I got a foster brother who came along later on, yeah.
Yep.
Wayne, yeah, he's just a couple of years younger than me, so.
Right.
Yeah.
What age were you when you can first remember him coming into the family?
He would have been about, we were living at Mairangi Bay at the time. God, it's hard remembering these dates. Would have been in the 60s probably.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, swinging 60s.
And you're still, you've been great mates, haven't you? You've always got on really well.
Him and I have always been close, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is he into the horses at all, or?
No, he follows
What
the
you're
stable, and he was partners in a couple. And he didn't think it was going good enough, so he bottled out and then it started winning as soon as he did. So
Often the way.
But yeah, no, he follows us pretty closely, yeah.
Yep.
He has a little 10 each way or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
What was school like for you? You went to Rangitoto College?
Yeah, we went to Rangitoto. It was Murray's Bay Primary.
Yep.
Murray's Bay Intermediate. I was a foundation pupil for those two, and then we went on to Rangitoto College. I left there when I was about 16. I think it was Form 4 or something.
What was it like, school for you?
It was just, it was like being in jail, really. Yeah, you're just waiting to get out. You're just itching to get out, so, yeah.
Sport?
Rugby, cricket, usual stuff, you know, what Kiwi boys do, you know.
Any good?
I wasn't bad at cricket. I was never left on the bench at rugby.
Yep.
But cricket, I wasn't too bad. Yeah.
What about this draw to the equine athlete, the horse? Where did that start, and how did it? Was there any family background there at all?
Not in the racing, other than the fact that my father was a pub bookie.
Right.
And consequently, the races were always on at our place, you know, because it was only radio in them days.
Yep.
And lots of people coming and going. And so that was my first introduction to racing. But I used to go to my uncle's farm on a regular basis whenever I could, school holidays and weekends and that. And I would ride horses there, and that was, you know, I got the feel for them there. And
Just say pub bookie again for me, because
pub bookie.
Yeah, there was almost an English twang there, which will be part of the story shortly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, so you leave school, but you don't go straight into a stable. Mum wasn't keen on that.
No, she wanted me to have a trade as such, and so I chose butchery because they didn't have an apprenticeship, and I could nigger out of that one whenever I wanted to.
So you'd just been in jail. You didn't want to get yourself back in jail.
Exactly. Yeah. So I found an ad from Doug Grantham in Hawera, so I ended up going down there to work for him.
Yep.
And I lasted 3 months.
Tough school.
Yeah, he was. He's a hard sort of a guy, and he didn't sack me, but he encouraged me to leave.
Suggested that you should try something else.
Yeah, so I come back to Auckland, and I phoned the top dog at the time was Peter Wolfenden. I thought I'll start at the top and work down, and I phoned him, and he said, "Have you had any experience?" And I thought, well, I really can't lie. So I said, yeah, I worked for Grantham, and he sacked me. So he said, "How long did you last?" I said, 3 months. He said, "Jesus, that'd be a record there." So I didn't feel too. Yeah, he did. Yeah, I stayed with him for 5 years. It was through the Cardigan Bay thing, and yeah, it was a really good time. Yeah.
Cardigan Bay on the outside by half a length. Mariti being kept up at work on the inner there, followed by Vanderford on the outside, and Robin Dundee on the inner. And round the bend they come. They've got just over a furlong and a quarter to go. And Cardigan Bay is the leader. It's Cardigan Bay by 3/4 of a length from Robin Dundee in the middle of the Riti down on the inside, and Vanderford on the outside. But Cardigan Bay is hanging on. Robin Dundee is catching Master Allen also. but they race past the first, and Cardigan Bay's the winner. Cardigan Bay by a length from Robin.
So you got to have a steer behind the mighty
I
Cardi?
did, yes,
Yeah.
I did. Just prior to him leaving for Australia for the last time,
Yep.
yeah, he said you better have a drive of him, so I did, you know.
Wow.
That was good.
Tell me about Tell me about that. What are your
Yeah.
memories of driving the first horse ever anywhere in the world to win $1 million?
Well, at the time you sort of take it for granted a little bit
Yep.
because, like, we worked with the horse every day, and I'd driven in workouts with other horses with
Yep.
him and whatnot. Yeah, he was just another horse in the stable, really, but you don't sort of appreciate these things until after, when they've gone.
Yep.
You know, so.
So you're part of the Cardigan Bay story.
Well,
eh?
yeah,
a little
bit, a little bit of a part, yeah.
Along the rail, a length behind Cardigan Bay. That's Brett Hanover. Cardigan Bay is in front. Brett Hanover is coming at him. Cardigan Bay holding him off. Cardigan Bay goes under the wire, the winner.
5 years with Wolfie. Are you driving at this stage? Have you got your probationary
Yes,
licence?
he got me a license. I was only there about a year and a half. He got me a license, and they used to have matinee meetings in them days, you know, where they were sort of a cross between trials and a race meeting where the people could bet on equalisators and all that sort of thing. And they'd have bigger crowds at these things than they have at the races nowadays, probably. Yeah, a couple of times there, they were huge crowds, you know. So I got to start off at a matinee meeting, and I won my first race, drove my first winner,
Yep.
and he helped me. You know, he was very good, Wolfie. You know.
Yep.
Yeah.
What made him such a great horseman, and in particular a great driver, do you think?
Well, with him, everything was just really easy. You know, it would all be, oh yeah, well, you just do this and do that, and you know.
Is he like all those great sportsmen? He just
All of
got
them.
time and
They're just laid back people, and even today, like your top drivers are pretty laid back. They don't worry too much about anything at all. You know.
So you've left the Wolfenden barn, and was it Jim Smith next? Is it?
Yes, yes. I went to Jim's, and I got my first race winner there
Yep.
at Jim's.
What was the name of that? Do you recall the name?
Imperial Castle, its name was. It was one of Noel Simpson's horses. He
Right.
was training for him at the
Yep.
time.
Yep.
Used to have a lot of young horses. That's where I sort of got more into the yearlings and 2-year-olds and stuff like that. Most of the other trainers didn't do a lot of that.
Was he
They might have one or
private
two.
trainer? Sort of. for
Sort
him?
of. For
Yeah.
Noel, he would drive, break in all Noel's yearlings, and
Yep.
And some would go to Australia and some would go to America, and they'd be, you know, going here, there, and everywhere all the time, you know. But it gave me an introduction to young horses, and that's where I've sort of excelled most, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Italy, you spent a winter there at some stage in Italy?
Yes, I did the first time I had a winter, because winter they shut down there, so
Yep.
I went to America twice.
Yep.
I worked down in Florida at Pompano for William Houghton
Yep.
and Howard Beisinger, and then I went to Italy for a
So that's
a
the
winter.
William Horton that
Yeah,
they have the
Billy
William
Houghton.
Horton.
Yeah,
They have
yeah,
the
Billy
race.
Houghton. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was a legend,
Legend, yeah.
greatest trainer ever. You know.
Yep.
Yeah, good
You must
guy.
have learnt some there.
Well, you do and you don't. I mean, sure, those guys can teach you stuff, but you know, if you're with them long enough.
Yep.
But a lot of the stuff that goes on, you know, the way they do things, you can't implement it elsewhere. You know,
Yep.
like you couldn't come back here and train horses to the letter American style. You know,
No.
maybe at an angle you could. I don't know, but I don't think so. But
Yeah.
you do learn a lot about horses, really.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
England wasn't just good to you horse-wise. You managed to find an equine athlete to spend a fair bit of time with the rest of your life, basically, didn't you? Deb?
Oh, yes.
You wondered where I
Yes.
was going there, didn't you?
Yes, I met her. She came to work for me, so, and that's how I met her. Yeah.
You lured her in. What were your
I don't know
tactics
who
there?
got lured there. Not sure about that, but
Yep.
yeah. So yeah, we've been. I think we must have been together for 30 years, probably 30 more, maybe more.
Mm.
Yeah. I don't keep records.
You don't keep records. You're not really big on records, though, are you?
No,
It's not,
I'm not. No,
No.
no, I never have. Never had a scrapbook, or
Yep.
I don't keep many photographs. You know.
You got married back here in New Zealand, though,
Yes,
didn't
we
you?
came back here, and yeah, we stayed here, and then we went to Australia for a while, and couldn't get in over there. So some guy offered us a job in Queensland. So we charged into Queensland, and he conveniently sort of disappeared himself, and so we were
You
we
left.
were left with nothing. So we just went fruit picking for 6 months, and then we a guy in England wanted me back there, so so off we went. You know, went back over there again.
It takes you over, feeling like you could fly. It takes you over from somewhere deep inside. It takes
Now, because you don't keep records, across the globe, what would you have driven? How many winners do you think? And it doesn't have to be exact, obviously.
Oh,
But what do you?
Probably
You won't want to say
over
this. Yeah.
800-ish or something. You know,
Right.
around there. Yeah.
And the biggest races, like in England, I think you were saying you won a couple of derbies and that.
Oh
but they
yeah, a
weren't-
couple of derbies, a couple of other big races. I won a big race in Ireland there once, and yeah, Musselburgh thing I won once.
Yep.
On the trotter.
What sort of
Yeah.
driver were you? As laid back as what you are now around the horses? Is it?
I suppose so.
Fair?
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah,
Yep.
I wasn't overly vigorous. No, you know, I
Yeah.
didn't.
They'll either run for you. There's no need to.
Yeah. I did quite well, really. I suppose, but yeah, I don't know how to describe myself really. I suppose I was just pretty laid back. Yeah.
It was hard to break in here in New Zealand, though, wasn't it? It was.
New Zealand is hard because if you're not connected, you're not you haven't got a family behind you. It is difficult, and you'd need to be very lucky. And basically, everybody needs a leg up in this business. You know, you all need a leg up. My leg up was John Street.
Yep.
And prior to that, well, you're just dealing with, you know, the
What's
bottom
left?
egg, the
Yeah.
the bottom end of the pile. Yeah.
Where did the Ray Norton link? Where did that come in? Because originally he was Lincoln Farwell.
He was, yes.
effectively.
Yes,
Yep.
Ray was a trainer there, and I was just poking around Coombe. I was shoeing a few horses. I was making garden sheds. A guy taught me to make garden sheds, and I was doing that. And I was doing all sorts of things there for a land, training 2 or 3 horses at the same time.
So he was the Great Adios man, wasn't he?
Yes.
His wife, I think, was owned. He trained and drove Great
His
Adios.
mother, yeah, his mother
sorry,
owned
his
it,
mother.
yeah.
To win,
When
Not
he
only
won
the
the
New
New
Zealand
Zealand
Cup,
Cup, yeah.
yep.
Yeah, he was a pretty good horse.
but he won like a stack of good races. The Cup
Yes.
was obviously number 1, but he won Alan Matson Free
Yeah.
for All and Yeah, he was a pretty good horse.
Yes, he was in his day, yeah. Yes, I
He won
remember
about
him
23
racing.
or 24 races, something like that. Which
Yeah.
back then, I think he won $60,000 or $70,000, but that would be enough to buy Lincoln Farms probably
Well, it was.
a few
you
times
know,
over.
I remember the guy that won the Auckland Galloping Cup there, he bought the farm next door with the purse money. Well, you couldn't even buy a house with it now, could you? So, yeah, Ray was, you know, his family owned he was from a pub background. His family owned a pub, and he did very well with that horse and a few others. But he was a pretty hard trainer. He was a tough trainer.
Yep.
Yeah, and he consequently had a few casualties along the way. But Great Adius was clearly the best one he had.
Yep.
Yeah.
So are we talking turn of the century here around 2000? Because I think, did he have a horse called Versace that won a few?
Versace.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a really nice horse, and he had huge potential, but he bowed a tendon, and that was the end of him.
Yep. So that was in the early 2000s,
Yeah.
and from what I can gather, the record, and you can probably tell me otherwise, but was it around about 2004, somewhere there, that you and Robert C. Mitchell
Yes.
became a partnership?
Yes, well, we were both working for Ray,
Yep.
and Ray decided he would retire, and so we ended up inheriting the job, and you know, we were a bit slow getting off the market first, but yeah, we had a bit of luck.
Three
Yeah.
wins in that first season, but
Yeah.
the most significant win came with a horse called Badlands Butte. And
Oh,
everyone
yes.
needs a good horse to start off a partnership or a training career. Well, along he came.
Yeah, he was a really slick-gaited, classy little horse. Not very big, but yeah, he was fast.
Yep.
You know, and he could accelerate. He'd dig holes in the track when he got let down. You know.
Here comes Tribute, the big danger out. Badlands Butte. They're followed down on the inside by Advance Attack. Tribute in front. Badlands Butte trying to run it down on the outside. And Advance Attack. Badlands Butte. Advance Attack. Badlands Butte got the Derby. Advance Attack and flashing home Rev again. In a photo now with Tribute on the inside is Bailey's Dream.
He
They're
won
followed
both
by
derbies. He
Superior
won
Presido on
the
outside there.
derby up here. They were sort of, you know, talking it up like it was the best field ever, and I think we paid about $30 or something. And yeah, Tony drove him.
Yeah,
'cause
Morris had driven him a little
Morris
bit early
was
on.
driving him,
Yep.
but he said to me, "I've got my own horse." He
Yep.
had I forget the name of the horse, a Presidential Ball horse there.
Right.
He had his coming on stream, and they were going to clash. So he said,
Yep.
"You want to grab Tony before somebody else does." So
Yep.
so we did, and worked out good.
What did he
Tony.
have? It wasn't Mr. Bojangles, wasn't
was
Percy
it-
the punter?
No,
or,
Mr. Bojangles.
Mr. Bojangles it was?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, because Morris only had a small team, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think I remember that.
Yeah.
So you got that bloke Hurler here, he can drive, well, most
Yeah,
of them can drive a wee bit, Ray.
Yeah, Tony's he's pretty good to work with. You know, I don't tell him. None of those guys. I don't tell them what to do. You know, if you have to tell them what to do, well, then you should be looking for someone else, shouldn't you? Really?
You've
But,
always used the best though, haven't you?
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I remember a friend of mine in America said just use them that are hot. You know, so I've sort
Morris,
of followed
Tony.
that. Yeah.
David, Zachary,
Yeah,
sort
that's
of,
right.
You've
Yeah.
followed that through then.
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
tried a couple of younger guys and give them a go, but at
Young
the end of the
Andre
day,
drives a bit
Andre's
for you.
very
He
good.
drives good, doesn't he?
Yes, he
Andre
does. Yeah,
Batana?
he's very good. He doesn't knock them around either. He's quite a sympathetic driver. So, yeah, he's.
What sort of grandstand watcher are you? How do you go?
I find it harder to watch than it is to actually be out there. Even though it's been a while since I have been out there, but I get a bit tense sometimes. Yeah.
What's he like to drive for? Is he an instruction man, or does he pretty much leave it to you?
I wouldn't be able to tell you how many horses I've driven for him, but I think maybe only once or twice he's given me a pointer here and there, you know, and generally it's maybe if the horse isn't 100%, he'll say, look, just try and take care of him out there and get him home as best as you can, but yeah, he's pretty easy to drive for. I've been told off by him a couple of times too, so don't worry, when you do bugger one up, he'll let you know, but I'm a big believer in it. You learn off it, you know, again, you can learn off anyone, and whether you agree or disagree with what he's got to say after race, you've got to go back and look at it and see his side of it as well. But in general, he's pretty easy and laid back.
Are you capable of giving them a swish if they get it wrong?
Not very often, usually, but occasionally. Occasionally I'll give them a spray, but you know, they've got to really do things.
butcher it.
Yeah, they butcher it. Yeah.
Christian Spirits in front. On the outside with Sharky and Mahia Dream lodging their claims, but Christian Spirits going too well, I believe. Christian Spirit and Morris McHenry, too strong, beat Mahia Dream. Bird, make it real in a photo with Sharky.
Let's talk about some of these other horses you've had good success with, the likes of Christian Spirit, Just a Tiger. They're handy horses, weren't they?
They were, yeah. He cost a bit of money, Christian Spirit. He was at the top of the sale, actually.
Yep.
It took him a while to sort of come to it, but, you know, in the end he was worth the money. And Just a Tiger, he was an extremely tough horse, great attitude, never sound, and but just, you know, his work ethic was just fantastic. So, yeah, he was a good horse and probably deserved to do a bit better.
But Just a Tiger's clear in the
still did
first.
pretty good.
Just a Tiger's 3 lengths clear, Molossi and Mark's Tenor. But Just a Tiger's too strong, has beaten Mark's Tenor, I reckon. Mark's Tenor, Molossi. Then James Ryan, Passion and Glory.
Bodine Boaz, he was a good horse that we good 2-year-old that we had. He won the Jewels.
Another little
A
horse.
small horse.
Yep.
And
Now tell me about that Jules Day, because you had 3 in
the race.
in the
yeah.
2-year-old race.
Yeah.
And again, there was a hot favourite of Mark Purdon's, which
Yes.
ended up
Follow
last.
the Stars.
Follow the Stars, basically
Yeah.
unbeaten.
Yeah.
He was unbeaten, I think. He was 8 from 8 or something like that.
Yeah.
So your expectations going into it, you gave young Zachary Butcher a drive in it, which
Yeah.
he was the 3rd stringer in
Pretty
a
much.
sense.
Yeah, we had Cha-Ching, who was probably the best performed one of those 3 colts at the time, and there was Strike the Gold.
Yep.
Was the other one. I
Pretty
think.
fair sort of horse too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Bodine Boaz, this little horse.
And little Bo, yeah, he was a great little horse. But when he won the race, and there was a bit of a schmozzle, you know, about the 600 out, and the favourite got scattered, and he popped out off the fence and got the job done, which was great, you know.
They're followed as they come for home now as Bodine Boaz down the outside. Express Stride goes to Art Union. Better Spirits up the inside and Bodine Boaz on the inside. Better Spirits and Bodine Boaz. These two they drive for Emerald Glory and Bodine Boaz. Bodine Boaz right on the line will beat out Better Spirits.
A trotter that you had which did pretty well was
You Rock.
yeah, never really. You never got what you
Yeah.
probably deserved. He came down south and won the Sales Series final.
Yeah,
didn't he?
He was a terrific horse. Yeah, I'd have to say he was my favourite horse.
Right. Yeah.
But so he got rheumatoid arthritis.
Yep.
You know, all his cartilage in his joints started to disintegrate, and
That must
he
have
had to
been
be
tough
put
for
down.
you, was it?
Yeah,
that must
it
have
was. Yeah, it was hard. It was hard.
been. Is that like a career low in many ways?
Yeah, probably, saddest.
Yeah. Because he had unreal potential. Yeah.
He could have been anything. He could have been anything. He was just a natural.
You haven't had many trotters, right?
No, we haven't. He was bought on basically one of John's whims. We were.
Oh, here we go. We've found one.
I'll give him the credit for that one, because we went to have a look at the draft that he was in, and we were looking at another horse. I think it was one of Croon's.
Yep.
And I said to him, he said, "All right, yeah, we're looking at this horse. Okay, let's go and have a look at this other one." I said, "Hang on," I said, "I just want to have a look at this trotter." It was one of the first of the Love Yous to come out of here, so out here to New Zealand. First
Out of
one.
Rock and Ronda?
He was out of Rock and Ronda,
Yep.
a pine chip mare, you know. So I said, let's drag that one out and have a look at it, and dragged it out and John and I looked at it and I thought, oh yeah, we had no intentions of buying him, And Rod Croon came over to me after he'd sold and said, oh, congratulations for buying that colt. I said, what colt?
He'd done it off his own bat.
$107,000 he paid for him, So he did well there, he was a good horse.
30.4, all shook up, leads by a head. U-Rock yet to be fully called upon. He slipped him a bit of rain now, did Murray Mackinac. Away goes U-Rock, zipped by All Shook Up, running on Pretty Sunday from the back. All Shook Up galloped. Triumphant Monarch goes to third, but it's U-Rock for the 3-year-old championship. He won it. U-Rock.
What did you like about training the trotter? Is it just so much different? Or so different?
I mean, there's really not a lot of money in the trotters. And much as we all love trotters, I mean, there's no greater discipline really, and there's nothing like a nice trotter, nothing like it. But they're just not viable, and consequently we don't target trotters.
Yeah.
And
that's why you haven't had many then.
That's correct, yeah. So, I'd love to have a couple of trotters, and right now, I mean, if you want to buy trotters, it's
a good time.
Yes, we got.
Well, they're running 4 at the park, 3 or 4 every
well,
meeting.
as that too, but I mean the pedigrees that we've got access to are fantastic. Like we've got every top sire on the planet. We can access them. So, it's a good time to get into trotters, but John's not happy to do that, but I can understand why.
He didn't like them breaking from a standing start at the paces. I'm picking he wouldn't like the trotters galloping too much either.
No, well, it's a bit frustrating, yeah, it can be very frustrating. So we just sort of stick to the paces for now.
But it's all Sir Lincoln. Sir Lincoln for the sire's final wins.
Sir Lincoln, the big boys coming now. Then came Anvil's best ever. Devil Dodger over the top of them. Rustly Rascal, he's brave. Sir Lincoln lunges and nails him. Sir Lincoln.
Sir Lincoln to find them, and look at Pembroke Lenny right down the outside. Sir Lincoln in front from Terra to Love. Sir Lincoln, what a drive, Morris McHenry.
Sir Lincoln,
well, he was bred by Lincoln Farms.
So again, that is unusual.
Yeah, that wasn't. He was a bit different to all the others. Yeah.
Did he show right from day one?
Yeah, he was a big wild thing, but he could fly, And as soon as I remember one morning, he got a fright and he off, and I thought, Jesus Christ,
what do we got here? Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Do you tell John at that stage?
No, he's no, not really. Later on, once we've sort of done a bit more, we sort of point out a few of the better ones. No, you don't want to be talking one up and then the others sort of overtake him 2 months down the road. You sort of wait till you pushed a few more buttons.
First up, Sir Lincoln goes to the races. He's $1.40 and he's drawn 1 the back row. Was there much pressure with a horse like him?
That was his first start. First start as a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember that, to be honest.
He drew 1 the back row, and I think Morris pulled him back to last and basically
tried to
started mooching around them, and he was very strong at the end, mate. He won really comfortably. You must have thought then,
Lady, they're in the straight, 220 metres left to go, and Sir Lincoln charged up on the outside for McKendry. They're followed Bossy Tark, Greg Murphy, Camwood Ladies deeper out. They're followed She's a Lucky Dreamer, but the odds on Pop is going to be too strong inside the 50. Racing away, Sir Lincoln. Sir Lincoln for Lincoln Farms. They're third for the night. Photos for second. We've got Bossy Tart. Gee, didn't that fight like a caged tiger?
Yeah, well, he had an accident there. We lined up, I think it was a Young Guns heat, and he tipped Morris out. I don't know why he did it, but he just tipped him out and bolted across the centre field.
Yep.
And luckily the clerk of the course was really good. He nailed him halfway across the centre there and pulled him up, and we should have scratched him, but we didn't. We ran him and he ran 4th or 5th or something, and so we turned him out and he come back as a 3-year-old, and he just never, he was just a monster then, you know, big powerful horse.
He won a heat of the Sire Stakes. So you go down to Addington Raceway, and you've been to all these racetracks around the world. You know how hard it is to win at Addington, let alone on New Zealand Cup Day, let alone in what's the first of the big races for the 3-year-olds of that season. And you come up with the outside of the second row draw. What were your initial thoughts there?
Well, it was interesting because I didn't want to go because the horse he had a bit of snot coming out before the 2 days before we were going to go.
Yep.
And he was a little bit off, and I knew he had a little abscess brewing in his foot. And I said to John, I said, I don't think we should go. He said, well, take him anyway and scratch him on the day if you have to, because they obviously wanted a runner on Cup Day. So we got him down there, and he got over the cough, and we put a little needle in his abscess and let that go, and the rest was history.
Continuing on. Bodine Christian, Glenalvon way up the back here, and the red light's on. It is a false start, so more time to invest on this Group 1 final. You can thank your lucky stars. Glenalvon ran into the back of Bodine Christian. It's the only thing that saves you for this race. They'll be kept in pretty much formation and come up again soon.
Okay, take 2 for the Sire Stakes, $200,000, Group 1, and yet again the favourite in the blue colours of Mark Purdon and Grant Payne. Here is Mark McNamara.
Thanks, Michael, all ready to go here. All good this time. All set. 1950. They're racing. Bodine Christian's going back at the start. Qatari Mark left well. Speed from Franco Hendricks on the inside was Riverfield, and not too far away, Hip Hop Handball. 3 wide was Sir Lincoln, a break to Code Red. Glenalvon on the inside from Motu Crusader. Last of all was Bodine Christian. Out of the straight they go.
He mooched around them and he got to part. And like, that's not a whole lot of fun from the outside second row normally.
Yeah.
But he raced enormous. He just bolted him.
Yes, it was like he'd just joined in, wasn't it? There was a false start, I remember, and of course he was steaming then, you know.
Was that the Mark III, or was that the Mare's side? Or
well, probably a bit of both.
Yep.
But he got lucky really, because he just got in the flow at the right time. You know, even though he was wide, he just was following cover, and they were sort of crossing over, and he ended up outside the Mark, who was on the favourite.
Yep. He got there pretty comfortably.
Yeah, and once he got outside of him, I remember Morris saying we were absolutely flying down the back. You know, he said, and the other little horse suddenly disappeared, and he was left on his own. Yeah, he just bolted, and we pulled the plugs. He was just gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a big buzz.
The leader is Sir Lincoln out by 2. The Anvils chase. Hip Hop and Best Ever. It's Sir Lincoln down from the North Island. He's holding the Anvils in the Sire Stakes final. Sir Lincoln is clear. Anvils Best Ever. Hip Hop Anvil, then Franco Hendricks, but it's all Sir Lincoln. Sir Lincoln for the Sire's final wins and beats Anvils Best Ever and Hip Hop Anvil. Then came Franco Hendricks, and further back was...
The next sort of big race we went for was the Victoria Derby.
Yeah.
And it was quite funny because I don't know what these Australians, they obviously don't take much notice of our form over here, but when we got there, this guy said to me, what are you doing here? you're wasting your time coming over here. These are the best 3-year-olds we've ever had. And I'm thinking, Jesus.
What am I doing here? Yeah.
So anyway, the heat, I remember the heat at Melton there. Morris just sent him out, let him smoke the gate, and of course he's 4 and 5 wide round the first corner, and then just kept trucking and just went on to the front, and of course there's people around me. Oh, that's the Kiwi, he's gone, you know.
Into the straight. Lincoln Royal in front, quickening now from Chariot King and Master Joy. It's Lincoln Royal 3 metres to Chariot King, Master Joy third, but Lincoln Royal going strongly. He kicked away, and Lincoln Royal's coming away for an impressive win. Lincoln Royal first, Chariot King second, Master Joy third. They all worked in the run.
And of course he just annihilated him. He deserved to win the final.
He got beat by another Kiwi. Courage to Rule beat him. Courage to Rule.
He was staying at the same place as me as it happened, and they both travelled to the races together.
Yeah.
But he got a really good trip. Morris won the second line behind the worst horse in the race, and so he went back and came straight out and went straight round them and managed to get to the front, and then they all mauled him. He did well to finish second, really, but he should have won, you know. It's a certainty beaten, really, if he got half a trip, you know.
Courage to Rule to the outside. The leader, Lincoln Royal. Courage to Rule after it, then Lanacos. Lincoln Royal tackled by Courage to Rule. The Kiwis fight it out. Courage to Rule in front, and Courage to Rule won the derby. Courage to Rule first, beat Lincoln Royal. Lanacos has run third, then Major Bronski.
On to the Jewels, and again, you've drawn the second row.
But it was a good draw because
it was hot up front, wasn't it?
Gomeo Romeo had a lot of speed.
Yep.
He was right on his back at the start, and I thought this is really good because he's going to have a dab at the front. He had no choice. It was either go forward or you're wasting it. Yeah. And so he had a dab and didn't quite make it, and we ended up in the 1-1. So it was a good trip, really.
Rustly Rascal, hip hop Anvil to the passing line, and here's Sir Lincoln. 5-star down the outside, Anvil's best ever. Rustly Rascal, Sir Lincoln, the big boys coming now. Then came Anvil's best ever. Devil Dodger over the top of them. Rustly Rascal is brave. Sir Lincoln lunges and nails him. Sir Lincoln, Rustly Rascal.
He had a great 3-year-old season, didn't he?
Yes.
That was a.
Yes.
If he'd won the Vic Derby, yep.
Oh, that would have been
But
perfect.
would have been the real icing.
It was disappointing that he didn't win that race, really.
Yep.
Yeah.
What about his 4-year-old year? Things just
He
went a
came
bit
back
awry,
from
didn't
that,
they?
and he got sick, and it took 6 months before we could sort of get him right again, you know.
Yep.
Yeah, so he basically missed his whole 4-year-old season. Yeah.
He wasn't that fond of the standing starts, mind you. Neither was one Jay Street. I do recall him.
No, well, that's right. Yeah, we were all sort of, up in arms about stands and so on at the time.
Funny when you got a horse that won't step away.
But it took him till 5-year-old before we sort of really
you got him going good.
Yeah, and we had a good run. And funnily, at the time I think it was the Hunter Cup, and that was on in Australia. So a lot of the good horses went over there.
Yeah. You nipped down south, didn't you?
We slipped down south. I was talking to Mick Gurr, and he sort of said, you know, that's what you should do, and so we did. That's what we did do, and
he won like a Summer Cup, and he won at Ashburton, didn't he?
He was just superior at the time, and against them horses.
Here is Sir Lincoln by a length and a half over Artifice. Rangatawa Ray back to the Better's Delight, passing lane from Dynamo and Magical Mel. Sir Lincoln's in front. Margin a length. Rangatawa Ray's going a good race from Artifice, but it's Sir Lincoln. He's kicking strongly. He's not going to run the record, but he's going to win. Artifice and Rangatawa Ray will fight out second. Sir Lincoln for the Magic Mile. Beat Artifice, Rangatawa Ray.
And he come back up, and he was right on his game for the cup.
The Auckland Cup.
Yeah, and got the job done. Yeah, Terror to Love sat on his back and
couldn't beat him.
couldn't get past his wheel, yeah.
250 to go, Sir Lincoln the leader from Franco Emirate. Terra to Love awaits the passing lane. Getting out Gold Ace down the outside. Marcish starting to wind up at the 150. Sir Lincoln, here's Marcish coming after it, and so too is Terra to Love. Sir Lincoln defying them, and look at Pembroke Benny right down the outside. Sir Lincoln in front from Terra to Love. Sir Lincoln, what a drive, Morris McKendry. Sir Lincoln won the Trillion Trust Auckland Cup. Second over Terra to Love.
How big a thrill for you as essentially an Aucklander?
Well, I wouldn't call it a thrill. I'd say, you know, it's more of a relief. You sort of, you don't realise how much pressure you put yourself under until afterwards. It's just, thank Christ for that, you know. So
it was big for Ray Green, but
yeah.
Big for John Street, and big for Morris McKendry as well, because he hadn't won one.
He hadn't won one, Morris. It was a big thing for Morris, and yeah, so everybody, it was a milestone for everybody, really. John, he'd never won it. He'd always wanted to win an Auckland Cup, and for me it was great. For Morris it was great. It was a great win, you know. Good for the horse. Yeah.
He won over 20 races and over 600,000. Is he, without trying to measure him against others, and on his record you're going to say, well, probably he was the best horse or is the best horse you've had, but he's right up there, isn't he?
Well, I haven't had any others that have won 3 Group 1 races, so I'd have to say he's the best one, yeah.
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 Let's just talk a little bit about where we are here at Lincoln Farms and what it must be like for you. And I think you referred to going to the yearling sales with $20 in your pocket and leaving with 5 horses that nobody else wanted, basically. And
yeah, well,
now you go to the yearling sales and what's in your pocket is irrelevant because you've got John Street. So just talk me through that.
Well, yes, I you know, the only way I could get horses to train, basically, was to go to the sales and get whatever I could afford, which was usually none, but and then put people in them. I'd get a couple of weeks to
do
that, and obviously with some people that I'd already teed up that would go into whatever, and that was how I operated. And we only had a couple that didn't make it, really.
Yep.
We sort of had a pretty good system of selection. But of course, when I got with John, and he gave me sort of, you know, you just go through them all and pick them out, and he's terrific. Like, he never questions.
Yep.
He'll say, well, what's on our list? And we'll go down, I'll walk him around, he'll have a look at them, and he'll admit to you that he doesn't know what he's looking at. He's just got pocketfuls of money.
What about working here at Lincoln Farms? You've been just over a year now. You worked for one master trainer in Barry Purdon, and Ray Green's got a pretty good record as well, so you must be lapping it up.
Yeah, exactly right. You know, I think Dad said to me early on, he said you fell into a bucket full of poo and come up with a mouthful of gold. So I've been blessed anywhere I've gone. You know, I started off with Barry's, and within a couple of years I was driving a lot of his horses and big owners, nice horses. You know, it makes you look good as a driver. Where in a sense there's 20 or 30 of them around the country that could do the same job. So, you know, I've been lucky to go there. And then once that chapter finished, I ended up at Lincoln Farms, and it's gone from strength to strength really. You know, Ray and John, they buy a lot of, you know, well-priced horses at the sales, and it makes your job easier as a driver, you know, and, you know, just everything around here is pretty easy going, and the facilities are great. So, you know, I couldn't ask for anything more really.
Describe to me your training philosophy.
Well, I think the biggest factor of bad performance is overtraining. I think overtraining's probably the cause of, you know, the worst thing. And I think a lot of people here do overtrain their horses. Like for example, we'll only train our horses once a week or twice a week. If they're trialling, they'll just train one, or racing, they'll just train once a week. Anytime we just train them once a week. We
and
do
so
heat
jog
work.
day, what would they?
Oh, we only jog for 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
Right.
Yeah, we only jog a short time. When we train, I very rarely train further than a mile.
Right.
But we'll do, you know, double headers. Like we'll go out there and work a mile and walk for a bit and then go another mile, and that's 2 miles,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So, but they've had that break in between, and it doesn't stress them too much.
And that
you know.
works for you, obviously.
It's worked for me, and that's the way I've done it for the past 10 years. You know, I've watched all those guys in Sweden. One thing I'd love to have is a straight track.
Yep.
You know, if we
Because
had
then that heat work
it's
becomes
brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, straight track would be ideal. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I was wanting to put one in here. You could run right to the road from here. It's a bit of a dog leg in there. We'll soon fix that. But no, John didn't want to do that. But yeah, straight track would just be. It'd be yeah.
What about people that have worked for you? And we look in the barn now and see young Entree Patama, Zachary Butcher. You can't do it all on your own, can you?
No, well, I'm lucky at the moment. I've got 2 superstar drivers there, and the other boys are really good, and they're all sort of work well together, and they're keen. You know, they enjoy their job, and they're right up there for the cause. You know, and
Andre's training 4 or 5 himself. Zach's got 1 and thinks he's Peter Wolfenden.
Yeah, Zach got lucky with that colt, and he's a nice colt.
Yeah.
And
Zeus Bromac.
he's done a good job with him. So, yeah, he's ambitious. He wants to be a trainer.
Yep.
He's waiting for me to bugger off.
The strike rate's pretty good.
Yeah, that helps. You know, he's got nice horses, but at the end of the day, you've still got to do jobs with nice horses. I've seen $200,000 purchases go through All Stars barn and big barns, you know, Crandale, Getty, guys like that, and hey, they're not always the best, you know. Some of them turn into GPs. I think Tim Vince told me one day he bought one for Mark that was a fair work of money, and it was the GP after 6 months. So you still got to be, you know, top of the line trainer to get those horses from the sales, to pick them out from day dot, get them to where they are, you know, and win big races. And Ray's proven that over the last 15 years, you know.
Got your own place. You got 25 acres not far from here.
Yeah, just 15 minutes down the road. It's the other side of the river.
What do you got set up there? You got boxes and
we've
stuff?
We've got 25 acres, and we had 10 boxes. We've made it 9 now. So,
yep.
And we've got nice shedding, plenty of shedding, and Deborah, she's got chickens.
Right.
Chickens. There's all these exotic breeds, you know, she's got there. So if you're into chickens, I can fix you up there.
You
she
sound like
sells
you're not
the
too
eggs.
big on the chickens, or are you?
Oh, I don't mind. It just makes her happy. That's fine, you know.
That's good. Yep.
And she's starting to sell a few, you know.
Right.
She sells a few of the chickens and the eggs. The eggs are worth a bit of money on some of them, you know. So.
You sound like you're genuine animal lovers. Is that fair?
Her more so than me, perhaps. You know, sometimes I think I'd like to live somewhere where there's not an animal within 2 miles.
Yeah.
But no, animals, horses are great.
Ray, would you say the game's been good to you?
It's been good to me probably the last 10 years.
Right.
Prior to that, I'd say I've struggled like a lot of people. Prior to John Street, I've probably struggled. I don't think I would have, I couldn't possibly have achieved what we've achieved without somebody like him to give me a leg up. Everybody needs a leg up, don't they? Like most of the people that are successful in this business are born into it, you know. They're a Butt or a Jones or a Wolfenden or a Butcher or something, and
or a Purdon.
Or a Purdon, and it's a, you know, those people get opportunity, we'll say, but it's hard for them that come in and they're not connected in any way. So anybody who, you know, well, in my case, everybody needs a leg up. I've got John Street, and he's given me a go, and we've been a good team. Yeah.